I never imagined my own sister would slap me hard enough to make an entire airport go silent. 1 second I was checking our boarding time on my phone, and the next her hand cracked across my face so loudly that Terminal 6 at LAX froze. People stopped walking. A baby stopped crying. Heads turned and I saw at least 4 phones rise already recording. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from. My cheek stung, but what hurt more was what happened next. My parents rushed toward us, not to check on me, not to ask if I was okay, but to wrap their arms around her. "Claire, what did you do to your sister?" my dad demanded, not even glancing at the bright red handprint on my face. Megan buried her face into my mother's shoulder as if she were 5 years old again. "She's been ruining the trip all morning," she whimpered, voice trembling on cue. "I can't take it anymore." It was a lie. A clean practice lie. The kind she'd told her whole life, and the kind my parents always believed without question. My mom glared at me over Megan's head. "Why can't you just let her enjoy herself? Do you always have to create problems?" That comment didn't surprise me. Not after 28 years of being assigned the role of the responsible one, the fixer, the quiet daughter, the one who handled everything. My name is Claire Bennett, and for as long as I can remember, my family has treated me like a built-in solution. Megan was the emotional one, the dramatic spark, the sensitive daughter who needed extra care. Growing up, whenever Megan cried, I comforted her. When she messed up, I covered her. When my parents needed something done, they didn't bother asking Megan. They came straight to me. Every single time. I used to tell myself it was love. That families share responsibility. But deep down, I knew I was carrying more than my share. And the older I got, the heavier it became. 5 weeks before the slap, we were sitting at dinner at my parents' house. Megan stood up suddenly with a champagne glass and tapped it with a fork. "I have an announcement," she said, glowing. My parents leaned in eagerly. "I'm treating us all to a trip to Hawaii. Flights, hotel, everything. My gift to the family." My mom covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. My dad clapped proudly. "That's my girl." Meanwhile, Megan looked straight at me and mouthed a tiny smug thank you. Because the truth was, I had already paid for everything. The flights? My card. The hotel? My card. The rental car, the excursions, the ocean view rooms Megan insisted on? All paid for by me. My parents didn't know. Megan did. And she basked in the praise like she had earned it. That moment stuck with me. Not because of the money, but because of the familiarity of it. Megan taking credit, my parents worshiping her, and me swallowing my resentment because family doesn't need credit. But standing in that airport, my cheek burning, my parents siding with her yet again, something inside me cracked. "I didn't do anything," I whispered, still stunned. My father's voice dropped into that harsh, disappointed tone he'd used since I was a kid. "Your sister's upset. Fix it." That sentence, "fix it," was my entire childhood summarized. My entire adulthood too. Megan sniffed dramatically. "Mom, please keep her away from me." Like I was the danger. I turned away from them. I didn't run or cry or argue. I just walked toward the restrooms at the far end of the terminal. Each step steadied me a little more. I reached a quiet corner near the vending machines and leaned against the cold tile wall. My hands trembled. My cheek throbbed. Humiliation pulsed through me in waves. And underneath it all, a deeper ache. The ache of being unseen for so long that I barely recognized myself. Then slowly clarity began to rise through the fog. The flights were booked under my name. The hotel reservation, my name. The rental car, my name. Every payment for this gift Megan bragged about came from my accounts. All of it. I pulled out my phone, opened my inbox, and scrolled through the confirmations. There they were, like a quiet timeline of every time I had taken care of things without anyone asking, thanking, or noticing. And an idea formed. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Out of a sudden, almost peaceful realization. I didn't have to pay for people who didn't value me. Not anymore. I opened the airline app and pulled up our reservation. 4 tickets, 4 names, all paid by me. My thumb hovered over the call button. A tiny voice in my head whispered the usual warnings. "They'll be mad. They'll blame you. They'll say it's your job to keep the family together." But another voice, one I barely recognized, whispered back. "You're done being their solution. You're done being invisible." I pressed call. Thank you for calling Pacific Waves Airlines, the agent said warmly. How can I assist you today? My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. I need to make a change to a reservation. Of course. What would you like to change? I swallowed once. I'd like to cancel 3 of the 4 tickets. Silence. Then, 3 tickets. Yes. Keep the one under Claire Bennett. She placed me on hold briefly. I stood there listening to faint elevator music while the terminal noise hummed faintly in the distance. My heartbeat was slow, steady. When she returned, she said, "All right, your cancellation is complete. The refunds will return to the original payer's account." Thank you, I said softly. When I hung up, the tremble in my hands was gone. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I didn't rush back. I didn't rehearse excuses. I just stood there in the quiet corner and breathed. When the confirmation email came through, I stared at it for a moment. 3 tickets gone. 3 people who had used my silence for years. I pushed away from the wall and walked back toward gate 76. Not as the daughter who fixed everything, but as someone finally reclaiming her voice. What came next, none of them were prepared for. Walking back toward gate 76 felt strangely calm, like I was moving through a space that no longer had power over me. The airport noise, rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, the hiss of espresso machines, became a distant hum instead of a pressure pushing down on my chest. My hands no longer shook. My cheeks still burned, but now it felt like a reminder, not a wound. My family was exactly where I left them. Megan was scrolling through her phone, laughing at something on the screen. My mom was rearranging items in her purse. My dad stood with one foot perched on his suitcase like a man preparing to command the world back into order. None of them noticed me approach. "I'm heading to my gate now," I said. Mom looked up confused. "What? Claire, this is your gate." "Not anymore." Megan rolled her eyes without looking up. "Oh my God, can you stop? Just sit down. You're making a scene." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I canceled your tickets." The effect was immediate. My dad's head snapped up. Mom froze mid-motion. Megan's phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the floor. "You what?" Dad demanded. "I canceled your tickets," I repeated calmly. "All 3. Megan scrambled for her phone and shoved it in front of me. "You're lying." I handed her my screen. Her eyes widened as she read the cancellation confirmations. Real ones. Time-stamped. Irrevocable. No, Claire, what did you do?" she whispered, voice cracking. Mom rushed over. "This isn't funny. This is not a joke." "It's not a joke," I said. "Call the airline." Dad didn't need encouragement, he was already dialing. His voice was clipped, irritated, commanding. "Yes, checking a reservation. Code is," he paused, listening. His face drained. "What do you mean only 1 passenger remains?" Megan staggered back, nearly tripping over her own suitcase. "She can't do that." "She can't, Dad. Tell them to put it back." "They can't," I said. "It's my reservation. My card. My account." Mom stepped closer, voice trembling. "Claire, sweetheart, why would you do something so horrible?" I let out a small breath. "Horrible? You didn't even look at me after Megan slapped me. You didn't ask what happened. You didn't care that I paid for everything. You just chose her." Again. Megan's face twisted. "I said I was sorry." "You said you were stressed," I corrected. "You always are. And somehow, your stress is my responsibility." Dad pocketed his phone, jaw tight. "You think this makes you the victim?" "No," I said. "It makes me done." Mom reached for my arm, desperate. "We can fix this. Just rebook the tickets. Please, Claire. We don't have money for new ones." My heart twisted a little at that. Because I knew. I'd known all along. That's why I paid in the first place. "I'm aware," I said softly. "But that's not my responsibility anymore." Megan rushed forward suddenly. "Claire, please. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you, okay? I wasn't thinking." "You weren't thinking when you took credit for this trip," I said. "You weren't thinking when you let them praise you for something I paid for. And you definitely weren't thinking when you hit me in public." Her voice shrank. "Claire." I said I'm sorry. I shook my head slowly. "Megan, you're sorry you're stuck here. Not sorry for what you've done." Mom's eyes brimmed with tears. We can talk about this as a family. We've never talked, I said quietly. You talk. Megan cries. Dad blames me. Then I fix it. That's the whole family dynamic. Dad stepped toward me, puffing his chest the way he always did when he wanted control. If you walk through that gate, he said, voice low, don't expect to come back. Even now, even cornered, even exposed, that was his instinct and ultimatum. I met his eyes. For once I didn't shrink. I'm not the one who left, I said. You left when you decided Megan's feelings mattered more than my reality. He blinked, taken aback. For 28 years, I had held every part of our family together. I was the quiet bridge between chaos and order. The one who paid, organized, planned, forgave. The one who accepted their version of me because it was easier than fighting it. But not anymore. Not today. My boarding group was called Group A. The group I paid extra for so Dad could have legroom and Megan wouldn't have to sit in a middle seat. I stepped around them, rolling my suitcase behind me. Not one of them reached out this time. My mom cried silently. My dad stared like he couldn't believe I had slipped out of his control. Megan sank onto a chair, looking like a child whose favorite toy had been taken away. At the gate, the agent scanned my ticket and gave me a sympathetic look. Rough day. I nodded once. It's getting better. Walking down the jet bridge, I felt lighter. Not happy, this wasn't happiness. This was release. A slow, powerful unwinding I'd needed for years without realizing. I stepped onto the plane, found my seat by the window, and sank into it. My hands rested calmly in my lap. My heart beat a steady rhythm. Before takeoff, I looked out through the glass. There they were. Megan pacing on the verge of tears again. Mom clutching tissues in her hands. Dad arguing with a gate agent, still believing the world could be forced back into the script he wrote. They looked lost. For once, I didn't feel responsible for finding them. The plane rolled back from the gate, engines humming, and I watched them shrink into the distance until they disappeared completely. For the first time in my life, I was flying towards something that was just for me. I had no idea how much this trip would change everything. Hawaii didn't welcome me with fireworks or dramatic realizations. It greeted me quietly, gently, like it knew I needed softness more than anything. When I stepped off the plane, the air wrapped around me warm and sweet, smelling faintly of flowers and salt. The sky was a shade of blue that didn't look real. For a moment I just stood there, letting the humidity settle onto my skin, letting my shoulders drop for the first time in months. I checked into the resort I had originally booked for 4 people. The receptionist put a lei around my neck and smiled. Welcome, Ms. Bennett. No stress. No scolding. No blame. Just a warm, simple welcome. My room overlooked the ocean. The balcony doors were open, curtains swaying in a gentle rhythm with the breeze. I stepped out into the sunlight, leaned on the railing, and looked at the water below. Waves rolled in, slow and confident, like they had all the time in the world. The same cheek Megan slapped only hours earlier felt cool now, touched by the wind instead of anger. I stayed there for a long time, staring at the horizon. Not thinking. Not overanalyzing. Just breathing. My phone buzzed at least 12 times while I unpacked. Then 15. Then 20. I turned the screen face down on the table. I wasn't ready. Instead, I showered, changed, and walked barefoot on the sand. I ate dinner alone, fresh fish, a cold drink, no one complaining or comparing or demanding anything of me. I didn't have to pretend to enjoy something for anyone else's sake. I didn't have to check if Megan liked her food or if my parents needed something. I didn't have to manage anyone's emotions. Just mine. The next morning I booked a snorkel tour. The boat crew greeted me cheerfully, and nobody seemed to care that I was alone. When I slipped into the water, I floated above bright schools of fish gliding through coral. Everything moved slowly, peacefully. Underwater, no one could talk to me. No one could call my name. No one could ask me to fix anything. It was the quietest I had ever felt. Back at the resort, I finally checked my phone. Dad. Call us. Now. Mom. Please, Claire, we need to talk. Megan. You seriously owe us an apology. Then more messages. Mom. We're stranded here. Please help us get home. Dad. You're being dramatic and selfish. Megan. Why did you do that to me? You're my sister. Then hours later, new ones. Mom. Maybe we didn't handle the situation right. Dad. Your mother is upset. You should think about how your actions affect people. Megan. I'm sorry, okay? The shift was predictable. Anger, guilt, excuses, then half apologies thrown like crumbs. I muted the conversation thread. Not to be cruel. To breathe. The rest of the week unfolded gently. I hiked along cliffs where the ocean crashed loudly against volcanic rock. I sat in cafes with a book instead of a schedule. I swam under a waterfall, the cold water pounding onto my shoulders, washing something heavy away. I had long breakfasts without rushing to solve anything. And every day I felt a little more like myself, someone I had ignored for years. By the 5th day, I almost forgot about the letter my parents said they'd mailed to my apartment. I didn't let myself imagine what it said. I didn't want to attach emotions to something that might not even be sincere. But the fact that they had written something at all felt unreal. On my last night, I stood on the balcony and watched the sunset pool into the ocean, turning everything gold. I whispered something I hadn't said out loud before. I deserve better. Not better family. Not better apologies. Better treatment. Better boundaries. Better self-respect. When I flew home the next morning, the peace stayed with me. I didn't rush off the plane. I didn't feel dread tightening my chest. I just took a deep breath and walked. At my apartment door was a large envelope, my name written in my mother's handwriting. I carried it inside, set my suitcase down, and sat on the couch. For a minute, I just stared at it. I wasn't scared of it. I wasn't angry at it. I just needed a second to accept that they reached out. Not through yelling or guilt or threats, but through a letter. Something they had never done. I opened it slowly. Inside were 3 pages. The first line made my throat tighten. Claire, we owe you an apology, one that is long overdue. They admitted things I never thought they would acknowledge. They wrote that they didn't realize how much they leaned on me, that they excused Megan's behavior because she was fragile, and assumed I didn't need attention, protection, or praise. They said they saw me as the strong one, the stable one, the dependable one, but they now realized that didn't mean I wasn't hurting. They said they failed me. My mother's part of the letter was more emotional. Her handwriting wobbled. She wrote that she never meant to hurt me, but she saw now how her choices had done exactly that. She apologized for not stepping in sooner, for not questioning Megan's stories, for not asking how I felt. My father's part was shorter but honest. I am sorry I didn't listen. For him, that was monumental. The last paragraph surprised me most. We don't expect forgiveness quickly. Take your time. We want to change and we're willing to prove it. I folded the letter gently and slid it back into the envelope. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I didn't rush to text them back. I allowed myself to sit with the apology, because choosing myself didn't mean shutting people out forever. It meant refusing to carry what was never mine to carry. The real revenge wasn't the canceled tickets. It wasn't the solo vacation. It wasn't leaving them shocked in the terminal. The real revenge was peace. The real revenge was no longer being available for their chaos. The real revenge was finally choosing me. If this story touched you or reminded you of your own family experiences, share your thoughts in the comments and tell me where you're listening from.